Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host for the Self Made as a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we're talking with successful business owners to hear their stories of the journey to building their business. And because we know that success in business doesn't happen on our own, we are taking some time to acknowledge and recognize the people who have helped us along the way. Today, I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us. My guest enjoys golfing as well as winter sports, and he's most proud of his children and their accomplishments. So we'll hear a little bit more about that in a minute here. It is my pleasure to welcome Mark to the show today. Hello, Mark.
Tim, how are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for asking. Hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born, where you live, about your family, and some of your hobbies.
So, Mark Dobson, I was actually born in Ottumwa, Iowa. So, if you watch the show MASH, you know where Ottumwa is or what's important about Ottumwa. Moved around the Midwest as a kid. Family find that my mother and father settled in South Bend, Indiana area. So I went to high school in South Bend, Clay High School. Was a Butler University here in Indiana grad, and stayed pretty much for most of my working career in the South Bend, Elkhart region. Just recently, we moved to the Fort Wayne, Indiana area to actually move closer to where our daughter is.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So tell us about your family.
So I think we might be a rarity. My wife and I have been married nearly 40 years. Uh,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. We have a great time together. We have a son who is a captain in the Air Force. He's a pilot. Was actually an Air Force Academy grad, and our daughter is a counselor in local high school area, high school and middle school.
Okay.
Was a teacher and saw a need for a little bit more in-depth engagement with
Mm.
her students, and so she went back, got a master's degree from Butler as well, and is now a counselor. So both married. One of them bringing our first grandchildren to us sometime this summer.
Oh, wow. Congrats. So tell us about what winter sports do you like playing?
I will. I love to snow ski. Although, if you know Indiana, there's not a lot of places to do so. But I also ride snowmobiles and usually head up to the north woods of Wisconsin to do so with some dear friends.
Awesome. Where
So,
in
yeah, I
Wisconsin do
figure
you
if
go?
winter's going to be on us, we might as well be out in it and enjoy it.
Yes, indeed. Where in Wisconsin do you go?
Presque Isle, Wisconsin. It's
Okay.
right on the UP border. Beautiful area, absolutely
Nice.
stunning area.
Fantastic. Awesome. We were just up in the Wisconsin Dells this past weekend for a wedding.
Nice, very nice. One of my good friends that I ride with lives right there, right outside of the Dells, and yeah, beautiful area as well.
Indeed. Hey, Mark, tell us a funny story that your family likes to share about you that you'd be willing to let us all know about.
You know, I was trying to think about that, and I couldn't think of anything. And then I realized I might be one of the most gullible people in terms if you're going to throw a surprise party, I'm easy to get done. I've had several occasions, and my wife has been involved in most of them, where there was an event held either in my honor or it was a birthday, and
Yeah.
a milestone birthday, and they got me. I had no idea. I showed up with a big dumb grin on my face, and so I think they would all say I'm pretty gullible.
Oh, I love it. Mark, tell us how the business came about and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
You know, a great question. We launched in 2019. I had, as you can see from my bio, when I grow up, I'll figure out what I want to do. I've been in the oil business. I've been in politics. I've been a real estate agent or broker. I've taught some courses. I ran chambers. I've been a lobbyist. So I've had a varied career, and coming along around 2019, I had spent so much time working in economic development, helping companies locate their sites in our community. I had always been around real estate. Even when I was in the oil business, I was developing convenience store sites around northern Indiana and southwest Michigan. So I'd always just been around real estate, but I had never really done it
Hmm.
for my own bottom line. And so 2019 happens. My wife and I had actually been on a spring break trip visiting our son, helping him with some stuff around his his first home.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I have worked so many hours for so long. I think I would rather be doing things like this, helping our children. I've reached that point in my life, and I think it's time that we started something that would allow me to control my agenda better than
Hmm.
in the past. So, always, I think perhaps it's a bit of arrogance and perhaps it's confidence, but I always felt that we would succeed based on my past history.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's awesome. Um, that's great that you're helping out your son with their home with his home. My dad did that for me as well on my first home, and wow, what a difference it makes to to have that help.
Well, it's just rewarding, and you see how it changes. Your relationship with your children or your parent evolves over the years, and you go from having to raise the child to seeing a young man who's doing all the right things. And if there was just something we could do to make his life a little bit easier, we were more than happy to do so. And been able to do the same with my daughter as she and her husband moved into home. So yeah, yeah, it's rewarding.
Mark, tell us a little bit more about your company, 84, and what do you guys do and how do you help folks?
So we are a real estate investment and development entity. Currently, we are, as you know, we're still just short of 3 years old, or we're just 3 years old and a little bit of pocket change. We continued to build our foundation. We acquired Dollar General and Family Dollar stores. We helped a factory owner who was having some financial difficulty with a sale leaseback and gave
Hmm.
him an influx of cash and gave us a really solid industrial site. So we have built ourselves to the point of where the foundation is very strong. And now we look at how can we take the foundation and then start getting into a little bit riskier real estate,
Hmm.
adaptive reuse, taking, there's a church building we're looking at currently in the downtown market that would be a really good conversion to housing, perhaps housing with a little bit of a recreational space in it. So, that's where we're evolving to at this point.
Fantastic. Mark, share a story of where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it even though maybe you didn't think you could, and the impact that that person had on you.
It's it's funny you say that, and it's the same story almost every time for me. It actually goes back to my years at Butler,
Hmm.
and people who know me would laugh at this description, but I was very shy, very introverted, didn't speak out well, really pretty average to below average grades. I've kidded it when I've made presentations that I was Butler's most average student ever, because that's what really, the GPA was not where it ought to be. But I had a sophomore year in entrepreneurship course, and we were working through why a business was failing. It was the Professor Nichols, Archie Nichols was his name, a fantastic guy, God rest his soul. But we were working through the failure of this company that was trying to sell, I should say, heavy duty suitcase to carry snow skis and the ABS plastic, foam padded, $150 at the time, which in 1982, that's a lot of money for something like that. So
Sure.
we worked through that. And at the time, I wasn't a snow skier, but my brother was. And I remembered he used to carry a little Velcro strap that he bought at the sporting goods store to strap his skis together when he carried them. And I just made kind of a dumb observation that, well, my brother paid $3.25 for this strap that he uses. I don't see how a $150 case can compete with that. And I remember Professor Nichols using a curse word that I won't use in our podcast, but saying, "You're a blanking genius. You have figured out the problem." And from that point, he took me under his wing and really pushed and encouraged entrepreneurship. Matter of fact, he was a little bit discouraged when I went into corporate America at first because he said, "You're an entrepreneur and you should. This is what you should be doing." So I will think back, that many years ago, 40 years ago, to Archie Nichols, that really inspired me to grow in entrepreneurship.
What a wonderful story. Mark, what's your biggest learning as a business owner?
I think there's a couple that go together really well. One is to surround yourself with the best talent you can potentially find.
Mm,
Um, don't be afraid of people who are smarter than you, more talented, because they're going to just make you grow that much more.
mm.
And then, just as important, uh, empower them to succeed and celebrate their success. If you empower those people with that kind of talent, it's amazing what they can do for your company, what they can do for your personal growth. It's always been, and that even goes back to Archie, who, as we were doing business planning, used to say, hire the best attorney, hire the best accountant. He always talked about hiring the best, and that stuck with me.
It's interesting how some people can be afraid of that or intimidated by, well, what if my employer, my staff is smarter than me, right? It isn't that a bad place to be as a business owner? And what you're saying is not at all. So just expand on that thought a little bit more.
Well, I mean, God bless them. We have just so much talent we have in our minds, and I will joke and say my talent's not very deep. But if I have great people around me, think how much more they can do for me. And when I was running chambers of commerce, I always had to I tried to build teams that really excelled at what we did. And those same people, I used to make me look so good. So somewhere in my bio, you read that in 2014 I was Chamber Executive of the Year. Well, that was a wonderful honor for me to receive, and I have the plaque, and I'm very proud of it. But it was the team that made that happen by the things that the team were able to accomplish. Everybody doing their job so that the things that I won the award, or what the basis for the award, I was able to work on and able to work with my team to succeed. So I really do believe you've got to put the best people you can around you.
Yeah. The reality is there's way too many things to be responsible for in running a business that we can't be an expert at them all, right? So having subject matter experts who are
Yes,
smarter than us in those different areas, right, what helps
absolutely.
us become better overall. Right.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Mark, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about one of the biggest challenges you've had in the last 3 years, and maybe a fellow business owner who came alongside and helped you to get through that.
Yeah, so we were fortunate, blessed. We started this company in what was considered a real estate buyer's market, right at the tail end of it. So we were able to launch rapidly.
Hmm.
But then the challenge of sustaining that buyer's market, or finding opportunity, became really uh, uh, quite a challenge, and it's rapidly turned to a seller's market. And so we're not able to look at deals at the same level that when we first started. So um, making sure that I didn't let passion for sites or
Hmm.
those sorts of things get in the way. I went back to what I used to call my one of the people in my kitchen cabinet when I was an elected official. I stole the term from a previous president, and I had my kitchen cabinet, people that I could rely on, and I
Yeah.
sat down with them, and we walked through, why is this deal good, why is this deal bad, and he was, the one who said, be willing to walk away. It's not the right deal. You have done nothing that has described to me why you should be buying this site. Walk away. And sometimes you need to hear that from somebody who can be that impartial voice that's absolutely needed.
Yeah. Awesome. Is it okay to share who that person is?
Yeah, his ego's bigger than mine, which is awesome. But it's gentleman's name is Mark Tarner. He's with the South Bend Chocolate Company.
Okay.
Um,
Fantastic.
he, he is probably one of the greatest entrepreneurs I've ever met and ever known.
Wonderful. If I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here, if I asked you to pick three people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for them being there to help you in your business's growth, who are those three people and how they help you?
That's I've thought a lot about that, and I'll add a fourth, because while we didn't always see eye to eye, my father was the guy who taught me just do it right. He
Mm,
would, from a young age, I was always told just do the right thing,
yeah.
even if it costs you. Do the right thing. So that's the foundation of how we try to do things. But I do look back at a gentleman's name is Michael Pitts. God rest his soul. Mike passed some years back, but uh, before I was running chambers of commerce, Mike taught me the lobbying craft. He was an amazing talent at how to properly lobby in such a way that was nonpartisan, that accomplished what the entity he needed, that he represented, got done. And I learned so much from Mike that to this day I still think back of how influential he was to me. And this was in the '90s, and then I was in chamber world, starting in 2010, and we got a lot of things done, and a lot of it was surrounded about what Mike taught me. Another gentleman who his name is Ray Brackett. He was a Phillips 66 marketing person that called on our company, and Ray taught me grace under pressure.
Hmm.
That's it, it's so easy to fly off the handle. I'm a bit Irish, and so I can get aggravated. And I learned from Ray how to function with such grace with when there's so much pressure.
Hmm.
And so he's another one I've always considered a mentor. And then finally the third one would be my buddy Mark Tarner. He was part of my kitchen cabinet when I was in office. He's still a guy I talk deals out with at times, and probably talk at least once every other month, or even more frequent when the need is there.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad to hear that you have such a strong bench, or what you call the kitchen cabinet. That's an awesome term. You also talked a little bit about your political career. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what did you do? That's so exciting.
Well, I was a local elected official, and really kind of an accidental candidate at best. When I was in the oil business, I did a lot of lobbying out in Washington, D.C. on behalf of our company. Spent a lot of time doing zonings and just a lot of engagement with public officials. And happened to go one night to a meeting because I heard there was a state's representative retiring. Um, Showed up at the meeting, and I was asked if I would consider running for county commissioner. And we took some time. My wife and I talked about it a lot. I had no political experience,
Mm.
but we went ahead and said yes to the ask. Was completely in over my head in terms of campaigning, and even remember in one debate writing a note to my wife saying, I just lost this debate. And set somehow with a real grassroots campaign, we won. It was in the minority party in the community, so created some challenges. Indiana has a three commissioner structure, so two were of the other party.
Mm.
But we did win, and uh, you be careful because you don't want to take too much credit, but I think we got a lot accomplished in the
Oh,
two
that's
terms
awesome.
that I served,
Yeah,
in terms of getting some real impactful community things done. And
fantastic.
well, it's something that I was very proud of. At times, would if I could find an avenue back in, I probably would do it again.
Very cool. That's awesome. I like the accidental description that you said.
Yeah, we were at that times we were outspent in both races, 10-1.
Oh, wow.
Had a very negative campaign ran against me on my reelection, and we chose that we would never go negative.
Mm.
We learned a lot from then Governor Mitch Daniels, that he never went negative in his campaign to be governor. It was always his positive vision, and we just stayed focused on positive vision. And I heard from a lot of people after the elections that that's what swayed even the opposition party. That
Mhm.
there was never any negative campaigning. It was all about a positive vision for the community.
Yeah. Awesome. People need to hear that positive, right? People want to believe in something bigger than themselves, and want to have hope for the future. And the way that politics is turning is certainly not that.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. On a local level, I think you'll still find that strong character and that strong level of cooperation, even if it happens to be opposite parties. But yeah, on a national, statewide and national basis, it is ugly. I agree.
Mark, as you think about the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges that you see that you're going to face in terms of getting to your goals? And who are the types of people that you're going to need to help you to achieve your goals?
So the challenge will be really is scale. We're small in comparison to our competition. We're a mom and pop operation, and some of the like when I look at the Fort Wayne area market, there's some really fantastic real estate people in this market that have had a real impact. And then there are even some folks that are similar to us in terms of their structure of their organization, but their pockets are very, very deep.
Right.
So scaling up does create our challenge. So when I look at how will we move forward, I go back to Archie Nichols, hire the best. I need to make sure I have a banker that understands what we're trying to accomplish
Right.
and can bring me a menu of services that beats everybody else's. I need to have brokers that understand what we're trying to accomplish and bring us the kinds of deals that uh, are of interest. Not that every single one is what we'll need.
Hmm.
And then, as always, I will need my partner, which is my wife, to continue to have my back and to continue to be my sounding board.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't run ideas off their spouse. If my wife can explain back to me why we're buying a site, then I'm not doing my job as a partner in this company with her.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Um, for me, I know for sure that, my wife is my support. She's my solid strength. There's, as a business owner, there's a lot of, ups and downs, and a little bit of a
Hmm.
roller coaster ride, and right, and things
Yeah,
come out of left field. And yeah, she's the one that keeps telling me that, that I've got this, and right, that she believes in me. It's like, well, if she believes in me, then I better figure out how to make this work.
yeah, absolutely. I do have a dear friend who was very heavily impacted by the pandemic.
Mm,
And I will say it was his family that pulled him out of it because he went through a significant amount of layoffs. His business was deeply impacted, and
oh,
it was his family that was his rock and that pulled him through that event that was really difficult. So yeah, any advice I would ever give to anybody getting a business is make sure your spouse is on board and
yeah,
make sure your spouse has your back.
yeah.
I
Yes,
like that. You've got this that you hear from your wife because those are impactful words.
it can be lonely at the top as a business owner, right? When we work for someone else, there's always somebody we can go to
Mhm.
to get some advice, and somebody else who can make the final decision. But as a business owner, right, it can be very lonely. So
That's fair. Very fair. Yeah.
last question here. All right. Jim Rohn, great author, says that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So, as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for business owners who are trying to do it on their own, who think that they don't need help, that they shouldn't ask other people's advice? What advice would you have for those folks?
Well, I would be blunt and tell them you're wrong. You do need other people. From the start of my career to now, there has always been somebody that has been an advisor, a sounding board. I had competitors in the oil business that I could call and talk through issues. Might not, you never wanted to get into competition, but there were a lot of environmental regulations that you wanted to make sure you were doing right. Or we had, just as an example, we had a truck hit, nobody hurt, but actually lost a truck at a railroad track. And I had competitors calling saying, hey, if you need our trucks,
Oh,
we're here
wow.
for you. Um, I think of my peers and friends who are in the business now. We talk quite frequently. I've got a good friend from high school that took over a family business, and he's done a great job with it. And he'll call once in a while just to kind of walk through some things. I know nothing of the printing business.
Sure.
He makes a great business card, but there are things that your peers, your friends can help you with, and absolutely reach out. It is no sign of weakness. Matter of fact, I think it's a sign of weakness if you try to do it all on your own and you don't reach out. I just absolutely reach out, have a peer group, a kitchen cabinet, if you want to call it that, or join an executive forum.
Mhm.
There's a good group. I'm not a part of it, but there's a real strong executive forum in the area, and I know at least 6 or 7 businessmen I know are part of that and do a great job together. Really help each other, build each other up.
The thing that a lot of folks don't realize is that the challenges that we face in our business are very similar across industries, right? And so to your point, by talking it out loud with other people, two things typically happen. First of all, there's this sense of relief of, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one that's struggling with this, right?
Yeah,
And then the second thing is there's always somebody who is a couple steps ahead, right, or a couple steps behind. So there's a natural helping of one another by sharing, oh, how did you get through that situation when you had it happen, or right, and you can always help one another by sharing what's going on and the things that you're putting into place or the strategies that you've used. And even if you don't have that example, just talking it out loud and sharing your opinion and the thoughts on how you would approach it inspires other people to think differently, and always people walk away with answers to the challenges that they're facing by having others, talk it out loud with them.
I absolutely well said. Yes, that's so true. I can even think of times where talking through issues with peers, trying to help them with their issue, I end up helping myself and
Yes.
coming up with my own answer when I thought it was elusive. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
agree with you 100%.
that's an awesome point. There's a lot of times we already have the answer within us. We just don't know that we do. So having the opportunity to think it out loud helps us clarify our thoughts and connect some dots and get to that, oh yeah, there's the thing that I should do. I didn't realize, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark, it sounds like you've had some pretty incredible people in your life that you've been blessed to have come alongside you in your journey as a business owner. So, if they were all here on the show with us today, what would you want to say to them?
Thanks sounds so trite,
Mhm.
but I would want to tell them of the impact that they had, that I would want to be able to share with them that if you look at that bio, I don't like talking a lot about my own success. I was taught to be a humble person, but I would say if you look at that bio and if you think that bio has some relevance or some level of gold medal to it, then you were a huge part of that because you were willing to invest in me. And a lot of times those folks, they don't realize they're investing in you. Just watching Ray Brackett and the complete grace under pressure, because oil business is a high pressure business, and learning from somebody who knew how to be so gracious, it's impactful. And so I would just want to tell them maybe I'm the amalgamation of the things that you did, and you're the reason I am where I am today.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. I love that picture that you just painted of you're the amalgamation of each person's investment to you over the years. That's cool. Mark, it's
Yeah,
been
thank
a
you,
pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Tim. Thank you. I appreciate your time very much.
To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self Made is a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Campsell. Be sure to help us spread this movement by liking the show and posting about us on social media. And to join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.
Thanks, Tim.